Welcome to another episode of Diaries of a Life Coach. My name is Larissa Dalton and I am your host. This podcast documents my journey of building a life coaching business, where I talk about the steps I took to create my company, build my clientele, my coaching experiences, discoveries, and transformation. And today I'm so thrilled to have Preeti Mistry with us as a guest. And she is a transformation and relationship coach. And so I'm excited to talk about relationships and what kind of mindset is required to have successful relationships. So without further ado, Preeti, please tell us about yourself and about your coaching journey.
Yeah, so coaching actually started for me at the beginning of the pandemic. It was a big new chapter in my life. And I was at a place where I was kind of feeling not so passionate, but also was looking for some other kind of fulfillment. And long story short, the pause allowed me to discover this. Mm-hmm. And in terms of my niche, my relationship mindset transformation, if I actually look back in time, it's actually something that I also particularly struggled with. A few years back. And I came from a place of curiosity because it wasn't just me. Being someone who's also, a young professional, I would notice that I would go to these dating events. I would go to these networking events, and I would see people show up again and again because I was in New York City, and you kind of do come across some people over and over again, and things would not change for some people. And I always used to wonder for myself, like, these are amazing people. What's going on and why? Mm-hmm. Why is their career side happening, but the relationship side of life is not happening? So I was always curious about this. I used to ask myself questions. I also used to be very into personal development and growth. And I couldn't connect the dots back then. Mm-hmm. Or I can see how this all nicely plays together. So that's how I really got invested in my niche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. So did you find the answers to that question?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the relationship mindset and what we're telling ourselves when we want to actually go into a relationship. So you have to sometimes, the audience that I really focus on also is the people who are in their 30s and 40s, because at this point in their life, it's a difficult point for some people because people around them have already gotten married, maybe. And maybe they even, their friends have children. They're used to, like, maybe in the beginning, some people are trying to match make you, but now other people around you are starting to give up. You're giving up on yourself. You're throwing yourself in your job. And the pattern goes on, like life goes on. You don't feel as motivated as at a time. And it's a state of mind and a state of being that really affects what you're going to put out there when you're trying to look. Do you even feel motivated to go on another date?
Yeah.
That's where it really comes from.
So I'm going to ask you this question. What's been the most awkward or the most memorable date? And as you think about it, I'm going to share mine. And it's gross, but I once met somebody for a date before I was married. And we get to a restaurant and, we order our food. The food shows up. And all of a sudden he takes out his gum and he sticks it to on the table. And I'm like, I think this date is over. I don't know. Maybe I overreacted. What do you think?
I think first impressions are key, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to be mindful that when you're going on a date, somebody doesn't really know you. So you want to give them at least a good impression of who you are. For me, if I have to think back to one of my dates, is one of the dates that did not go favorably in that sense is somebody where, you were coming home from work, you're taking the time to go meet somebody on a date. And so they are meeting you as well. Regardless, I know that I brought my full energy to the date. and my presence, and I was feeling enthusiastic about it. But whatever, who knows what is going on in this other person's mind, but they just seem really drab.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, let's get on with it kind of attitude. And that kind of just pulled me back. And I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm feeling this. And it's not necessarily him. It could have just been he was having a bad day, but it's really, I feel it's important to be mindful of what you're bringing onto that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very good point because, when I think back on the situation, it sounds gross and all of that. But, what if he was so nervous? Like he couldn't even, because I've been where I was super nervous situations. Maybe he didn't even notice what he was doing and stuff. So, yeah. But I think like being aware and mindful of what you're doing, your behaviors, your actions, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Also, like, when it comes to your relationship mindset, like it's important to like before, if you're someone who's looking to go back out there and start dating, or even if you're already dating, like, what is the idea of a love relationship look like to you? Like, what is your intention behind it? Where is it coming from? Like, it's very good to get super clear on these things. Like, is it something is it an image that was fed to you by society, by the movies? Maybe it's something you watch your parents grow up with, like, what your parents' relationship was the image of what you have what a relationship should be. Learn, and then versus what your values are and what you actually want from a relationship, and learn to kind of disconnect them and realize that someone else's story is not your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you going in with a negative mindset? Like, some of us who are still single, obviously we're here because something in the past has not worked out. So are you coming from a place of, I don't want to do this, like I have a negative view of a relationship? Are you feeling positive? Are you feeling neutral? Because like I said, the energy that you're going in with is going to kind of be a key into determining what's going to happen down the line. So you want to go in with the right frame of mind, and it's good to catch that. Even the limiting beliefs like, oh, love is not meant for me. There's no one out there for me. What's the point of getting a relationship that's going to fail anyways? And we say these things so innocently to ourselves sometimes, but what we don't realize is that our minds, our subconscious minds are so powerful that it takes these things and it recycles them like a tape recorder. And then our behaviors and attitudes and whatever we do play out to fulfill those beliefs, and the cycle continues. So it's important to catch that and reframe so that your mind can work in your favor, not against you.
And that's a wonderful point, because you can take that same strategy, or you can use the same piece of information and apply it in any other area of your life, not necessarily as it applies to dating. So I think that's a great point. Yeah,
definitely.
Mm-hmm. So how has the coaching changed your perspective when it comes to dating? Has that impacted the way you see yourself in this dating world?
Yes. So, I had to work through my own internal kinks to get to where I am now. And what was happening with me was, I'll tell you what my story was, what my holdback was that like I said, I wasn't feeling so super passionate about life in general. And, but at the same time, I wanted someone who was passionate, and I wanted someone who had a positive view on life and just had all this energy, but I don't think I was bringing that energy. So that had to be worked on, because one of my realizations is that, and just a little bit of a tangent, but like, everyone talks about the law of attraction, the law of vibration. And it's not necessarily, so my key learning is that it's not necessarily what you want, it's you're going to attract who you are. And so I had to work on these things to change the way I feel about life, so that when I'm actually, what was happening before was that like, I would get excited. I'm like, oh, this person's so passionate. He can, some people would tell me like they could do their job day and night. And I, like all these amazing things, I wasn't feeling that way. So as much as I was like, wow, this person's energy is awesome, but then I felt like it was a double-ended sword. I felt inadequate. And that disparity would kind of not make things go forward. Like for some reason it would not work. Maybe I was feeling less than, maybe he could pick up on the vibe, who knows? But it's really important of coming from a place of like, you are enough and not feeling less than. So that's the internal, kind of an example of the internal work that needs to be done.
How, so you've been coaching people in the relationship, or those that are seeking relationship, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't have to only be that. I'm open to, so I am super passionate about just mindset transformation. So if you're open to any kind of mindset, you're totally welcome. But the relationship side of things really drives me. So I love those kind of, yeah.
When you were kind of narrowing in on your niche or your area of focus, um, was it like your own personal relationship that drew you to this specific area, or is it or something else?
It was just my like the past struggles and just seeing like friends of friends, third degree, sixth degree, going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, and like these are, like I said, these were brilliant people. I'm just kind of like, what's going on? The curiosity and like getting deeper into my, whys and what was happening with me, and then wanting to help spread that awareness for other people so they can get their life moving in the direction they want when it comes to a relationship.
Yeah. Just so that we're clear for our audience, are you currently available for a relationship?
Yeah.
Or are you taken?
No, I am available. I am super available. I'm super ready, and I'm super pumped and psyched for this. So yeah.
So tell me about, like, if you had to imagine your ideal date, what would that be? What would that look like?
Wow, good question. All right, so my ideal date. Preferably, okay, this is really going out there. I'm picking the season too. Like it would be like spring or summer. I would like to maybe just go for a walk in some like beautiful scenic setting, just talk to someone, get to know them, and just have this free, easy conversation. Maybe at some point grab something to eat. And yeah, and just kind of enjoy, like, sense of humor is important to me. The communication and the conversation that happens is super important to me. So, and just the very essence of who the person is and their presence is important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like presence. I like that. The essence, the presence. So if, let's say, our audience have entered relationships already before, hearing this conversation, and they're like, well, I didn't do this kind of work before I entered this relationship. What can they do now to kind of realign themselves in that partnership, to enhance that relationship?
Yeah. So someone looking for a relationship, you mean?
No, somebody's in the relationship, but they didn't do the mind work.
So they're already seeing someone. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they have to see what's happening within the relationship. Like, I mean, if things are going well, then fine. But if there's something not right, then it's important to step aside and take a bird's eye view of what's going on and really assess your feelings and where they're coming from. And if something is not feeling congruent within, ask yourself, why? Is there certain values that are being crossed, or is there something that's not being fulfilled for you? Really get to the heart of what's happening for you. You have to know yourself first. Then only when you know what's lacking for you, can you communicate that with the other person. Maybe it's even just a love language. Maybe they're not speaking your love language. Maybe yours is like words of affirmation. They keep giving you gifts and something, something's not resonating right with you, and knowing the other person's too. So yeah.
In your experience, how important do you believe the love languages are?
I think it's super important, actually, because I think the key thing is that not everyone experiences love and respect the same way. And to understand each other's viewpoints and what speaks to them is kind of how they're going to feel appreciated. But of course, number one is, what is yours? Some people don't know their own, right? They just feel like something wishy-washy is going on, something is not right, but they don't know why. So get clear on what your love language is. And even if one of them is, I want to just, I appreciate it when I'm heard, for example, like get even deeper into, so when you say you want to be heard, what does that mean? What needs to happen for you to feel heard? And communicate that. It could be that the person's hearing you, but they're just not giving you the words of affirmation. Maybe you need to say something afterwards, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. I find that my love languages kind of shift or change with time, or depending what season I'm in my life. Do you find that to be like common? Does that happen for you?
That's interesting. So, I mean, it's never just one love language. We can have all of them, I feel. And there's a different priority. And I feel like as people, we're always changing. Like nothing's ever constant. You change as a person, right? You grow as a person. Something you maybe something that might have spoken to you a while back, maybe now something else has taken a forefront. So I think it's completely possible that your love languages can have prioritized differently through time.
It's interesting because I definitely noticed that shift, that I have completely, like right now, I need words of affirmation, and maybe it has to do with, building a business, and maybe it's a new venture, and, I'm building myself up and my embodying, this new role. And so I feel like maybe that shift is due to that.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome that you're aware of that. Like some people, like I said, they're on default. They don't even know. Like you just notice that something was there before. Now you're feeling this. I think that's key. Like along the way is always important to maintain that awareness of what's going on within you as well.
Yeah. So if we were to talk to our coaches, coaches that are starting their business or are even going through the coaching program, what might you suggest to them, if they are looking, to start a relationship? What kind of work can they do to prepare for that, especially if they're going to build a business, which we know is difficult to do. Mm-hmm. And how do they balance, the newly found or newly pursued relationship with building a new business?
So the issue of starting something and being in a relationship, and how does that play together? I mean, that really depends on what you want in your life, right? I think every person is different with regards to that. Like, are you looking for a relationship? Are you not looking for a relationship? What is your topmost priority? Do you want to focus on your business? Do you want both? Like, get clear on what's happening. Also, notice any limiting beliefs that you might have around this. Sometimes a big myth is that if I'm successful, I can't be in a relationship. If I'm in a relationship, I can't be successful. That's a myth. And why? What is the reason behind that feeling? Is it that, do you feel a relationship is going to drag you down? And is that the image you have of a relationship, as it being a burden? Or can the right person actually be your catalyst? Can you guys be a power team and make something happen together? So it really depends on your perspective also on how you're going into this.
Do you think that parents play a role in the kind of relationship you're seeking?
Yeah, that's, I'm not a psychologist, but research says that sometimes a lot of our vision of what a relationship should look like is what we grew up witnessing. And unfortunately, if you witness something dysfunctional between your parents, that kind of gets, absorbed in you. And unknowingly, sometimes you act these out in your real life. So it's important to, like I said, go back and really understand, like I said, where your relationship vision is coming from. Is it something on the outside? Is it your parents? And then know how to dissociate yourself and understand someone else's story is not yours. The past does not determine the future. And really look into this. Like it takes a lot of willpower and energy to do this. Not everyone does it because, again, people on autopilot. But if you're noticing patterns, if you're noticing things, really get into where this is coming from.
So if somebody witnessed, say, a bad relationship, and we're speaking from like a coaching perspective, right? We would meet them where they are. And so we'd work with them on mind transformation. So, the first thing you said is ask questions. Well, or actually step back and ask questions. Yeah. So kind of bring awareness to your own situation, right?
Yeah.
And then what would the next step be for them?
Well, once you can differentiate that, hey, this is someone else's story that I'm projecting onto myself, realize like that your story is in your own hands. Like shift that negative thought. I mean, whatever that famous, detach from it and realize that, wait, this is not me. This doesn't have to be my story. And then go from there.
Yeah. Do you think visualization exercises are helpful in this situation?
Yeah, I think for anything, not just relationships. Because going back to the mind and the subconscious mind is sometimes like when you visualize something, you're putting it in the present moment and you're feeling the feelings of being there now. And sometimes like when you do that, your brain doesn't know what's really happening and not happening. So you're making that new story your new possibility. And you're kind of, in a way, it's kind of rewiring your brain. And the better the story you create for yourself, the better the visualization. And it's not just visualizing, it's feeling the feelings of being in that relationship. Like, how are you feeling? What is the tone? What is the setting? Get all that into your, all those details when you're visualizing. And that itself can just be a major motivating factor too, because now it's become something that feels impossible to possible.
Yeah, I like it. What else can people do too? Because mind work is like it's work and it takes time and it requires a lot of focus and attention. So some things that you can do daily, obviously ask questions, be aware, visualize your future. What about things like writing affirmations or
affirmations definitely work. Studies show that like minimum 21 days to actually make that switch, just like with any behavior you're trying to change. Also like a mindset attitude shift, like you need to at least do it for 21 days and write it. The best way I think also to do it is like whatever you find that your limiting belief is, like flip the script, like make the positive alternative of what that is. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm working on getting myself all wonderful and happy and excited, bringing my energy, finding my partner. So where would I go to find one like these days? I mean, I don't know. I just want, if there's people out there looking for partners, where do they go to find a partner?
So that's a really good question. So my belief as a coach is that you are resourceful completely within. Okay. A lot of people, sometimes when they're looking for someone, are looking for people that resonate with your values, resonate with who you are, and have some kind of compatibility with kind of how you would live your life and your vision of life. So where would you go? Where would you hang out? Where would you want to be? You know better than anyone else where to find these people.
I totally understand that. It's a great response from a coach.
Yeah, and I mean, right now with the pandemic, it is more like difficult. But there's so many places where you can like go online. Like, I mean, Clubhouse is a new thing.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, where do you go? Where do you hang out? Where would you want to go on those websites? Or dating apps.
Yeah.
Dating apps is a big one.
That's how I met my husband.
Yeah. A lot of people are meeting through dating apps nowadays. And it's definitely a thing. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. So basically whatever you do it with like the perfect perfectly intended emotion, feeling, be purposeful, deliberate.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word perfect, but more so like, are your thoughts in alignment with what you want? Or are they working against you? Is really what you need to look at.
So really, I like that you highlighted that your mindset, just what your feelings, emotions, thoughts are, all that matters in how you approach.
Yeah. I mean, with anything though in life, like how the energy that you're going in with, the thoughts that you're going in with is kind of going to have a big role in how things develop, in front of you. So it's very important to keep that in mind, whether it's a job, a relationship, spirituality, whatever.
So if we have another dating or coach that focuses on relationships, such as yourself, that is about to start or launch their business, and they want to know where can they find clients that are seeking out relationship advice, what would you suggest for them?
Wow, good question. So that's something I'm also doing a trial and error with at the moment. But I would see like, what are these people's interests in terms of where would people who want to be in relationships, where would they be going? Who would they be following? Try to get, follow those hashtags. Even if you're on Clubhouse, which rooms would they be following? If you're in Facebook, what groups would they be in? So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What would you say your challenges are as a coach, not necessarily like as it relates to relationships, but in general? What are some of the challenges that you face and how you solve them?
Yeah, so actually, I feel like one of the biggest challenges as a coach is that I feel like sometimes people out there don't fully understand what coaching is. There's a lot of misconceptions, and they don't understand the value of it because they haven't experienced it themselves yet. So I feel like if somehow, there could be more education around what coaching is and how it can really impact your life, because these things are like coaching is something contrary to popular belief. It's not really advising. You're not going to tell someone go do this and go do that, because when you advise, sometimes what someone tells you might not resonate with who you are. But we don't take the time to go inwards. We can, but we don't, and sometimes we're scared to go inwards. And when you have a coach, you have that person sitting across from you who's sitting there. They're giving you the support, and they're asking you the right questions to go where you need to go. Sometimes we can't see outside of our own minds. So a coach can kind of give you, by reflecting back, like show you, what's being said and reflected back to you. Sometimes they can even identify patterns if you're unable to see them. So it gives you a lot of clarity on what's happening with you and why. And it helps you also discover your own resourcefulness. Like you actually have the answers within you, but you're just not asking yourself the right questions and not taking the time to go within. And once you have these things, and you can use it and apply it to other areas in your life as well, and it can do amazing things for you. Because I really wish they would teach coaching in schools. Like I wish I learned this when I was a kid.
Yeah. I completely agree with you that, and I think that they taught it early on in life that people would develop stronger relationships with themselves and stronger trust and probably be more confident with these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
like
because
that.
we're taught so much on how to make things happen externally, like your careers and stuff, but no one teaches you how to navigate yourself.
Yes.
That's a big part of it too.
Interesting you say that, because I just read a book called Chatter, and in it, he one of his last chapters, he said that one of his students asked him at the end of the class, like, why are we just learning now when we have how to manage chatter in our mind, how to take that bird's view, detach from our problem and look from outside, kind of what you were talking about. Why are we learning it now? We're like leaving college now. We had all this chatter going on, all these self-doubts and sabotaging thoughts,
Yeah.
And so basically, when he concluded the book, he just kind of dedicated it to that student that asked him, like, and was compelled to provide those resources, for people moving forward. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's never too late. There are coaches out there.
Yes, absolutely. So have you, since you made this transition into coaching life, uh, are you happier? Are you fulfilled? Like what are you experiencing?
Yeah, like I understand myself a whole lot better. I'm more aligned with myself. Um, Even intuitively, like I kind of know how to listen to my inner guidance now. I know how to catch myself when I'm triggered by something and not let it spiral out of control and let it take over my day. Um, and just everything with the baby steps, the big picture baby steps, little at a time, little at a time. Yeah, it impacts in such an amazing way. Like everything has changed actually.
What about, are you feeling a sense of satisfaction, sense of purpose?
Yeah, super fulfilled, super passionate. Um, there's just I can't even put into words. Like there's this like inner excitement that I kind of just feel every day that I wasn't feeling before, and I'm loving it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely reflective on your face. I feel like you smile way more, So that's amazing. Well, Preeti, we're gonna link all your contact information in the podcast notes. But I want to thank you for being here today. For anybody that is going through or looking to find a relationship, to find love, looking to work on themselves as it relates to relationships or any kind of mind work, you can reach out to Preeti and work with her. So I'm going to link all your contacts below. And I just want to say thank you so much. It's such an interesting perspective, the dating, the relationships, that you bring. And yeah, I'm happy that you got to be on here. And thank you so much.
And thank you so much for having me. This is an absolute pleasure. I totally love the conversation, by the way. And if there's any value people get out of this, then I've done my job. And thank you for having me.
Have any questions about today's episode? Just head over to my website, larissadalton.com/contact-info and send in your request, or simply email me at larissadalton10@gmail.com. You can find my podcasts wherever podcasts are found. If you would like me to cover a specific topic, also submit that request via website or my email. Connect with me on Instagram at Larissa_Dalton, or book a complimentary session with me at larissadalton.com/coaching. Thank you again for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.